For some people, there's matrimony. For others, there's acrimony! Welcome back to another episode of Figuratively Speaking. I'm Dr. Craig Engstrom. I am a business communication instructor at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. I am also a communication coach who helps clients pepper their presentations with just a little bit more style. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to pepper your presentation with antithesis. Let's get started. So what is antithesis? Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a really good definition, I think, is a figure of speech in which contrasting or opposition of ideas is expressed in parallel form, and really good definition. But do note that Silva Rhetorica out of BYU, which is a great resource on persuasion and rhetoric, does state that they don't necessarily have to be parallel in structure, and in fact when you get to larger books or novels or entire paragraphs that are antithesis, you will not always see it in parallel form. However, the examples I'm providing for you today are in parallel form. They're very short, and in fact just makes really memorable, sort of catchy statements or anchors for your topical presentations where you might use an antithesis to frame each section of a speech. I'll cover that in a future video. For this one, though, let's just look at a couple of examples of antithesis. There are three that I'd like to provide, one from politics, one from arts, and one from society in general. So the first example comes from politics, and that is Patrick Henry's speech at the Second Virginia Convention in 1775, where he states, "Give me liberty or give me death." Really good contrast between, freedom or death. Definitely more memorable than if he would have said something like, "You better give me my freedom or I might do something very dire." So that's just not as memorable as "give me liberty or give me death." So already you're seeing how these can be statements that are very powerful when used just sort of as a line with two contrasting ideas. Let's dive down to another example, comes from Hamlet. If you want a primer on uses of figures of speech and tropes, just read Shakespeare. It's just like every line is just one figure of speech after another. But let's look at an example from Hamlet where he says, "Give every man thy ear, but give few thy voice," right? So he might say something like that, a very good form of antithesis. And finally, let's look at an example from Martin Luther King, who also does really nice figures of speech in his writing, and a good example to sort of use. And he says, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." And of course, this is a very memorable statement, but you see that the live together or perish. So two contrasting ideas which form antithesis. You can either be brothers or you can be fools. Again, antithesis. So what do you think about this figure of speech? Have you used it before? Will you be using it? Have you seen good examples of it recently? If you have, you are, or you will, put them down in the comments. Also, if you liked this video and found it valuable, it would help me out if you hit that like button. Doesn't take much time. It's just a little massage around that little like button. Also, consider subscribing to me. I give a lot of videos on how to improve your efficiency and effectiveness as a communicator. I'm on YouTube as well as LinkedIn, and I hope that I will see you back watching another video very soon.